say about a man when he's friends with Glenn Beck and Mike Lee and Louis Gohmert? It says a lot about a man, doesn't it? It says a lot about a man. I'll tell you what, I'd rather have friends like Glenn Beck and Mike Lee and Louis Gohmert than, say, John Boehner. John Boehner, you will remember, turns out he's a texting and golfing buddy with Donald Trump. I'll come back to that in a moment. But speaking of Mike, you know, Indiana's sort of been the tale of two Mikes. So Donald Trump has been endorsed by convicted rapist, tough guy, not Mike Tyson. And Ted Cruz has been endorsed by Governor Mike Pence. What does that tell you about Ted Cruz? And what, for that matter, does it tell you about Donald Trump? I'll come back to him in a moment. Let me tell you just briefly about the man that I've come to know in the last 7 weeks. Then I want to talk to you a little bit about why having someone who understands the Constitution so well is so important now. And then I want to introduce you to the next first family of this great United States of America. You know, I've been on a bus with Ted Cruz and his family and his friends for 7 weeks. May not sound like a long time, but when you're on a bus for 7 weeks, you get to know somebody. You get to know somebody. And so I've seen him with his friends, and you've seen his friends. And what I have seen is the same thing they told you about him. He's the same. He's the same away from the cameras as he is in front of the cameras. He treats everyone with respect and courtesy. I've also seen him with his wife, Heidi. My husband, Frank, and I have been married for 32 years. And I know that Heidi is an accomplished and strong woman in her own right. And I know that Ted and Heidi have a partnership, just like my husband and I do. And I know from personal experience that it takes a strong and special man to partner with a strong and special woman like Heidi.
Yeah.
I've seen him with his children, Caroline and Catherine. I mean, to know them is to love them. But they adore their dad. And they love nothing better than to jump up on his lap and listen to him tell them stories or his famous imitations. Maybe you can get him to do one this afternoon, I don't know. But they also understand that he's engaged in really important work. It says a lot about a man when your children both adore and respect you. And what I have seen in 7 weeks, and Heidi spoke about this is not a man that gets rattled. This is not a man that acts out of emotion, although he feels passionately about the future of our nation. This is a man who doesn't lose his temper. He is calm and thoughtful and deliberate, even under enormous pressure. And isn't that what we want in a commander-in-chief? You know, Donald Trump said something interesting yesterday, like every day, but yesterday he said something, I'll get it roughly right. He said something like, well, yeah, I'm a conservative, but why does it matter? So now I want to tell you why it matters. Why does it matter to have a constitutional conservative in the Oval Office? And to tell you that, although you know, but to tell you that I have to start a long time ago in my own life. When I was a little girl, 8 years old, on a Sunday, much like this one, my mother looked at me and said, what you are is God's gift to you. What you make of yourself is your gift to God. And I have learned in the course of my life that indeed we are all gifted by God. We are all equal in the eyes of God. Every one of us has enormous potential, usually far more than we realize. And as I have traveled and lived and worked all over the world, I have also learned that people, regardless of their circumstances, no matter how desperate those circumstances may be, that people want and have the capacity to live lives of dignity and purpose and meaning. And people all over the world find dignity from work done well, and purpose from family, and faith brings meaning to their lives. I also know, having traveled and lived and worked all over the world for decades in every corner of this globe, I am keenly aware that despite the fact that each of us is gifted by God, that it is only in this nation that a young woman can start out the way I did, typing and filing and answering the phones for a little 9-person real estate firm in the middle of a deep recession, go on one day to become the chief executive officer of what we turned into the largest technology company in the world, run for the presidency of the United States, and now stand as Ted Cruz's running mate as a vice president. That is only possible in this great nation. More things have been more possible for more people, for more places here than anywhere else on earth, and the question is why? Why have so many things been possible here that are not possible anywhere else on earth? You know why? Because our founders understood human nature. And here's the thing, human nature doesn't change. Times change, cultures change, human nature doesn't change. And our founders, knowing human nature as they did, founded this nation on two fundamental understandings about human nature. One, they knew that everyone is gifted by God. They knew that everyone has potential, and so they founded this nation on a actually radical idea at the time. Visionary still. The idea that here every individual has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That was their way of saying you have a right to fulfill your potential. And they said that right comes from God and cannot be taken away by man or government. And so the Constitution was written to enshrine and protect our rights and liberties. But our founders knew something else about human nature that never changes either. What they knew is that power concentrated is power abused. And so the Constitution is also about the restraint of power. And that is why the only way to fix what ails us now is to return to the foundation of this nation and restore power back where it belongs, into the hands of the citizens and the communities and the states of this great nation. The Constitution is not some dusty relic of 2 centuries ago. The Constitution is as relevant today, as vital today, as it was the moment it was written. Because you see, Americans have figured out this system is corrupt. The game is rigged. This system of corrupt politicians and entrenched interests and crony capitalism that has existed in Washington, D.C. for decades under, let us be honest, Republicans and Democrats alike. This corrupt system works if you're a big company, but not if you're small. It works if you're wealthy and powerful and well-connected, but it doesn't work for the rest of us. This system must be challenged, and the constitutional powers of citizen government must be restored. And so we not only need someone in the Oval Office who understands that in his core, but we need somebody who is a fighter. You know why we need a fighter? You know why we need a fighter? Because when you challenge a system, it's really hard. I've done it all my life. It's how you go from secretary to CEO. And I will tell you what, when you challenge a system, you do more than rock the boat. You do more than ruffle feathers. Frankly, I am so tired of people saying, well, Ted Cruz has made some enemies. You bet. That is the price of leadership. It is the price of challenging the system. Be proud of the enemies this man has made. Assure you that there is one man in this race who will never fight this system. You know why? Donald Trump. Remember I referenced John Boehner? Oh, Donald Trump's texting and golfing buddy. How is it possible that you can give $100,000 to John Boehner's super PAC? Remember him? He didn't do much with conservative majorities. He lost his job because he wouldn't lead. Remember him? How do you give him $100,000 and also give tens of thousands of dollars to his opponents, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid? You know how you do that? Because you're in the system, folks. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are two sides of the same coin. Hillary Clinton and too many politicians like her have made her millions selling access and influence, and Donald Trump has made his billions buying people like Hillary Clinton off. You tell your fellow Hoosiers, if they are angry and they want someone to fight the system, Donald Trump will not fight the system. He is the system. The fight of our time. This is the fight for the soul of our party. It is a fight for the future of our nation. I can assure you. Ted Cruz, Carli Fiorina, all the people who are lined up and understand what's at stake here will fight. You have a warrior in Ted Cruz, but we need you in this fight as well, because in the end, this is about we the people. So, my fellow citizens, it is time to take our country back. And to take our country back, you, the people of the Hoosier State, must stand up and give Ted Cruz a win. So now, help me welcome your next First Family. Heidi Cruz, your next First Lady, Carolyn and Kathy.